This is a really good first step in starting to learn about your options in both protecting your assets, making sure you qualify or your loved one qualifies for medical assistance, and that they or you continue to get good care even after that. So I'm very glad you've joined us. It may be that COVID or other factors in your life have you really thinking about long-term care and the need for it. It's a scary and uncertain time, and there's a lot of things we can't control. That's why it is really helpful to plan ahead and control what you can and maximize your options. So I am really glad you're here. Most Americans don't have a plan for paying for long-term care. There are definite advantages to having one. The biggest financial crisis you can face in retirement is paying for long-term care. It can cost $120,000 a year or more. So you could lose your life savings in basically the blink of an eye in a few years. But that doesn't have to be the case. Today, I'm going to talk about the smooth sailing system for asset protection. It's a system I developed to help you avoid being a burden to your loved ones.
Excuse me for just a moment. Somebody's at the door.
And still get good care and protect your assets. This is what we'll talk about today. I can't go through the whole smooth sailing asset protection system, but we'll get you started. And we'll give you information that will be helpful to you. And when we're done, we will offer you a free resource at the end that will be more valuable and personalized to your specific situation. So let's dive in. At Safe Harbor Estate Law, we help you protect what matters most to you, protecting your loved ones and yourself. Why is this important? I want to tell you a story about a client I had about a year ago. Her brother called me Bob and said, calling about my sister Emily, these are fictitious names, but real story. She had fell and broke her hip. She was only about 70, but she was in the nursing home. It was very expensive, over $10,000 a month. And they were really worried about protecting the little money she had left and getting on medical assistance. And so they were very relieved to hire us and to be working with someone who knew the ins and outs of medical assistance. And however, once we got into it, we found out that they had sold a house about a year and a half before. That was before we were involved. And there's a 5-year look back in Minnesota for Medicaid. And so this house sale was subject to the Medicaid rules. And of course, they didn't know it at the time. They were doing the best they could, honest people. However, they violated the rules of medical assistance. As a result, when she got on medical assistance, she had a $90,000 penalty. That means medical assistance was not going to pay a dime for her care until she paid $90,000, and she had $3,000 left. And as her brother-in-law Bob said to me, am I supposed to pay out of my retirement? I need my retirement. And so that's on appeal, and we're not sure how it's going to come out, but we asked for a hardship appeal for them. I don't want you or your family to go through what Emily's family has been going through. I'm really in favor of you planning ahead so the rules can be followed. It's much easier to do that ahead of time than try to fix a big problem later. So that is why I created the smooth sailing system. And Emily could have avoided that whole $90,000 penalty by doing that. And a lot of peace of mind they would have gained. So let me tell you a little bit more about me. I'm, as I said, an elder law attorney, and I can relate to my clients because I have had similar life experiences. My dad died of dementia in January 2019. My mom's still around. She doesn't need long-term care yet, but my siblings and I are working together to support my mom and plan for her needing care, just like we did for my dad when he was alive. In fact, that's how I got into elder law, because I wanted to find out how to help out my parents years ago. So regardless of what the future brings, I want to help you sleep better at night because you have a plan in place and you've done what you can. And I have to put in a picture of my mom and dad, Irv and Bev Barrett, there, because they're the loved ones that I think about when I think about long-term care, and you can think about your own loved ones. So we've worked with a number of people. One was a grandson that I worked with in the last couple of years, and this is just a testimonial from him. He said he just made a quick phone call and it gave him hope. And we had all the questions answered. We organized and took care of things. And like he says, we did work together over the course of over a year until she passed away, just to walk him through that process. So that is what we do. And we want to give you the same kind of hope. So a little more credentials on me and details so you know who I am and who we are. I started this firm 7 years ago. We have a rating of 10 on Avo and a 5-star on Google. And last year we won 16th fastest growing law firm in the country from the Law Firm 500. And I found out yesterday that this year we're the 17th fastest growing. So it was 440% growth in 3 years. The reason I'm really happy about that is it means our team is growing and our team provides better service than just a couple of us. And also we're getting to help more people all the time because the need is great. So we're very thankful for that. And there's other credentials. You'll get a handout of this also in an email afterward. Other credentials about my involvement in the bar and helping seniors. So the questions people call us with are, what if I need long-term care? What if I need to move to assisted living or a nursing home? What if I'm disabled? What if I suddenly get ill? What if I get a big, serious diagnosis someday? What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my loved ones? How will I pay for it all? What if I run out of money? You get good care if you're on medical assistance. And is there going to be any money left that I can leave to my loved ones? And is there more I should be doing? I don't even know what I should be doing. These are the kind of questions we get. And if you want to avoid what I call chicken little planning, you know, running around like a chicken with your head cut off, panicking, which is what happens when we don't plan ahead, then I recommend, this is a great first step, and I recommend you continue forward with the process of asset protection planning, because if the sky does fall, you don't have to be like Chicken Little, you can be well prepared. And you don't have to end up like Emily, who had the $90,000 penalty. So let's go over the objectives for today. First, I'm going to get you started on tips to avoid spending all your money on the nursing home and still get the care you need. And then there's time to answer questions. So you can save them up and we'll answer them then. And thirdly, I'm going to offer a special resource at the end for you can have a one-on-one personal meeting to get more personal and individual questions answered than we can do today. So what's exciting, if you act on what we learned today, you can get ahead of most Americans and you can minimize stress and maximize your assets and maximize your care and take care of yourself and your loved ones. It really can be a wonderful gift to yourself and your loved ones in this holiday season to take care of your planning. Gabriel, can we mute the participants?
Put the TV on it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is how you pay this big bill for long-term care. And the first way of paying, well, let's talk about how much it costs. Do you have an idea of how much nursing home care or any kind of care, even in home, costs for an elderly person or a person in need of care? Do you want to raise your hand if you want to guess? Okay. We need to unmute him, please.
To the gym?
Yeah. He's still muted.
I can only ask him to unmute once I've muted him.
Okay. I'm sorry.
There we go. He should
Can
be
you
up.
hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
What
For
do you?
for some reason, it got on mute.
Yeah, we need to do that in between because otherwise the
Oh.
background makes it hard. So what's your input on the cost of care?
About 120,000.
For, okay, For like nursing home level care?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, okay, thank you. Yes, I agree. That is a number that we see quite a bit, especially if somebody needs a pretty high level of care. And so in a nursing home, it can cost like from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, sometimes even higher. That's where we get the 120,000. Assisted living is usually 3,500 to 8,000, depending on the care you get. There's residential care homes that are 2,500 to 5,000. And at-home care can actually cost more. It can cost up to 200,000 a year. It really depends on the level of care you need. So if you project that, let's say 10 years, if you need care 10 years or you're married and both of you need care 5 years, that's a lot of money. And how are we going to pay for that? The average time of stay in a care facility is 2.5 years. So it's a lot of money. We need to talk about it. So how to pay for it? The first way is through private pay, paying with your own money. If you can afford it, this is nice because you have a lot of options if you're paying yourself. And I always think the slide is funny because the people are raising their hands. They look like they're really happy to pay for their care. They're probably not because it's so expensive. But what happens if you do run out of money and how it will affect your spouse? So there are some issues with private pay. The next option is long-term care insurance. If you have long-term care insurance, can you raise your hand? Good. And so do you have it for your wife too? Okay, good. So if you have it, you may know that it's helpful, but it's not the end of the story. It's probably not going to pay for all your care. It's not going to last forever. And of course, sometimes there's problems getting the coverage you thought you bought. So it is helpful, but you still need to plan. And if you don't have it, don't be discouraged. We can still make a plan for asset protection and qualifying for medical assistance if you don't have long-term care insurance. If you are eligible for it, we can also refer you to people so you could still buy it. So the next way to pay for long-term care after paying yourself private pay or long-term care insurance is going to be the government. So Medicare is the federal program, and most people think it pays for long-term care, but it only pays about 90 days and then it ends. So the primary payer of government benefits in the country for long-term care is Medicaid. And in Minnesota, it's called medical assistance. In Wisconsin, it's called Badger Care. That's what's going to pay for your care, provided you qualify if you run out of money. And the last option is veterans benefits. If you're a veteran, there are benefits, and it can pay for long-term care. The waiting list to get into the nursing homes for the vets are quite long though. So many of our vets end up going on medical assistance first anyway. So medical assistance is going to be the focus of the talk because that's what is the main government payer of long-term benefits. Okay, for medical assistance, there's two types in Minnesota. There's long-term care. That's the traditional paying for the nursing home that's been around forever. However, years back, Minnesota, who is, the state is generally innovative, created an elderly waiver. We asked Medicare if we could offer this. It's for people in home or in assisted livings. So they're not in the nursing home, but they still need care. And the government allowed us to try this, and it was so successful, they approved it right away. So we have elderly waiver in Minnesota. The government will pay for your care, even at home or in assisted living. And the rules are not exactly the same, but for the purposes of our talk, they're essentially the same. So we're talking about both LTC, long-term care, and EW, elderly waiver, for the rest of the talk. I want to tell you a little story right now about Grandpa Miller. This is my friend Aaron. He's an elder lawyer in Texas. And his grandpa and grandma were farmers. They lived on a farm. And one day, grandma, they found the keys. Her keys were lost, and they found them in a vent in the wall, a heating duct. I don't know how long it took to find them, but that's where they found them. And then another day they found her shoes in the freezer. So obviously there were concerns, and they got her diagnosed with dementia. She gradually declined and eventually passed away. That whole time, Grandpa Miller paid for all her care, like a loving husband. He ended up being really short on money after she died. He took in renters at the farm, eventually sold it. Eventually he needed care. He spent the rest of his money, and then he moved to Texas to be by his son. Then his son just dipped into his retirement account to pay for Grandpa's care until he died. They didn't get any government help. Medicaid is the program I wish they knew about, and I'm glad you're here to learn about. That's what could have helped him certainly save his son's retirement money, and probably saved some of the money that Grandpa Miller had. So it's Medicaid that we're really focusing on today. And by the way, my talk today is focused on Medicaid for people over 65. There are programs that pay for people under 65 also that we help people with. Okay, so in medical assistance, basically, to get on medical assistance, you can only have $3,000 left, a house if you're still living in it, and maybe a car, basically, and a funeral policy. If you're married, your spouse can have about $129,000. So together you can have about $131,000. Unless you're both on medical assistance, in case you can only have $6,000. So as you can see, you don't have a lot of money left when you go on medical assistance in Minnesota. And there is a 5-year look back period. So when we fill in the application, they say, have you made any gifts in the last 60 months? Did you give away anything that you didn't get equal value for? It's that look back period that's really critical. If you can start planning before that, it's great. But even if you think you might already be in the 5-year look back, that you might apply for Medicaid in the next 5 years, it's important to plan. So the thing with medical assistance that we found, and everyone finds, is the rules are very complex. And there are still some gray areas. And the rules are applied inconsistently by the counties in Minnesota and by the workers in the same county. So there is a certain amount of unpredictability, and it's important to work with somebody who really understands the rules and understands when the county is following them or not really following them. So it's really, that makes it even more important to plan because of the complexity and the inconsistencies. So that's why I say the time to plan is now. Whether you think you're in a 5-year look back period, or if you think you have more time than that, it's really good to plan ahead. So we worked with a family who he protected, I think $250,000 for the family. We were able to do that. And this person said that we went above and beyond for the family during a difficult time, which we understand most of our clients are in, and accomplished things they were losing hope were possible. And they'll always recommend us. So we were really thankful to help them as well. So I want to tell you about another client. He was about 60 and he had a stroke. He was still working, and he was disabled by the time I met him. I met with him and his sister and his son. His son was a St. Paul firefighter, a real strong man. And I remember him crying through most of the meeting because his dad was, so different than how he remembered him. But he had this wonderful family, sister and son. And what we were able to do, because he was going to be in nursing home the rest of his life and probably live a long time, so it's going to be very expensive. We were able to give $250,000 from the dad to the son. And then we bought this annuity, and we're able to get him on medical assistance and protect this money. And this happened a couple of years ago, and they are doing well, and they're very thankful. He was very thankful. Even though he's disabled, he understood what we were doing completely, and he was very happy as well. So we were really happy that we were able to save him half the money. I'm going to show you some diagrams now to talk about that same kind of process in a different way. So let's say someone comes to us and they have $600,000. This is a single person. The traditional plan is you're going to pay all that money to the care provider, maybe a nursing home or a service. And when you're done, you spent 597,000 and you saved the state 597,000 because they're not paying a dime till you get down to 3,000. That's the traditional way. And you can do that. It's legal. As long as you follow the rules in the 5-year look back, you'll get on medical assistance. Well, let's say you come to us and we make an asset protection plan. So the next diagram will show a client who worked with us and how they were able to protect assets. There's a bunch of little boxes here, but there's a few different strategies we worked on this client with. For instance, prepaying the funeral. Maybe they paid their family for some care they provided according to, the rules we gave them. And we helped them do that in a way that will be acceptable to medical assistance. But the big savings here is there was a gift of 250,000. This is like the gentleman I told you, to the family members. And then we bought an annuity, in this case, for about 290. It really depends, but it's around the size of the gift, the annuity will be. Then we applied for medical assistance. So instead of paying 600,000 over the next 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is, we made the gift and bought the annuity right away and applied right away. And medical assistance said, did you make a gift in the last 60 months? Yes, we gave $250,000 last week to the son. Okay, you have a penalty, and that means you're going to have to pay your own care for the next 3 years. And we said, okay, well, we already bought the annuity. It's a special Medicaid compliant annuity that's going to pay for the care for the 3 years. And then there's a little bit of the $250,000 gift the son is going to help up, is going to need to pitch in a little bit of that too. So the Medicaid compliant annuities are pretty new to be allowed in Minnesota, about the past 5 years or so. And they're very specific, and it's a very complicated process. So we recommend that you work with us on it, but it's a big game changer in Minnesota. That's one thing I want you to remember. In other states, people are able to save a lot of money for many years. Minnesota, we couldn't really do too much until we got this game changer, the Medicaid compliant annuities. So you can often save over half your assets with a good plan and still get good care. The sooner you plan, the better, because we want to for sure make sure your estate plan documents are in order so that will allow this if you lose capacity. And you will save way more than you spend on our smooth sailing asset protection plan. That is always the case. And then we have that complementary strategy session that we'll tell you more about at the end. And it will really help us determine better if you're a good candidate for this. But even if you aren't a good candidate for the annuity, asset protection is worth it. So estate recovery, I want to just teach you a little bit about that. This is where the state comes after your money after you die. So let's say you have a house and the spouse is still living in the house and the other spouse is in a facility. And so you get to keep the house plus $130,000 as a couple. However, when you go to sell the house, or hello, welcome. When you go to sell the house, or when the second person dies, the state is going to have a lien against the house to recover. Similarly, if you just had maybe a life insurance policy that paid after you died, you're going to have a claim. So estate recovery is where the state comes after your money after you die. And we help people plan for that, to minimize that, and we help people deal with it when it happens. Because again, complicated rules, not always consistently applied. So one of the big takeaways I want you to have is, I do not consider medical assistance to be a do-it-yourself project. We do fix things when people come and have done it on their own. And a lot of people realize that they wish they didn't. And so even sometimes a facility will apply for a client, and we've had facilities do things in a way that really made things hard on our clients. So we recommend that some of that money, that large amount of money that you're spending on care, take a small percentage of it and spend it on legal fees to help you plan and protect. It will be worth it. So in this one, I just want you to stop and think so that you can personally apply all this that I'm telling you. You can in your mind check off any that apply. If you're worried about running out of money for you or a loved one's care in the next 10 years, be good to think about asset protection planning now. If you've made gifts in the past, a lot of people in that category, and we can often fix that. We just need to know and plan. Third, if you don't know if your estate plan allows for asset protection strategies, we have to make sure the power of attorney and the trust, if you have one, give your people the authority to do that fancy Medicaid compliant annuity planning, if that's what you want. And fourth, if you just want to learn more about Medicaid and protecting your assets, all of these are good reasons to sign up for a strategy session and really eventually do the asset protection plan. And maybe you have other reasons, but those are some of the main ones we see why people are happy to work with us. Things through, which is super, and I wish that I could answer them all right now, but what I want to do next is talk about, how do you move from being kind of stressed out, if you're stressed out or confused, however you feel like you are, to having your ducks in a row and having some peace of mind. Well, that last slide was just telling you that I get a lot of questions about trusts, and asset protection trusts don't work very well in Minnesota like they do in other states, like maybe Connecticut. So how do you move from being stressed out to having your ducks in a row? So what I would recommend, if you didn't already do this, is schedule a strategy session with us, and we can talk with you more about your personal situation. You can do some confidential sharing, and there's no commitment, no obligation. But we want to educate you and empower you to know what's best for you. And for most people who are seniors, having an asset protection plan is probably going to be best for you, but we can really look at your situation and help you see that, see how it is. So to schedule a session, you can go to safeharborstatelaw.com/schedule. You can certainly call our office. And then can you go to the next slide, please? There's our office, but we have plexiglass shields up in there now. It looks different. So sometimes people take their masks off because we have the shield, because I know it can be hard to hear people. We can also do meetings over Zoom like this. So you could meet with Dawn Thompson. You might also meet with Ben Francis. And here's Dawn. Hi, Dawn. You're on mute, but
yeah, I noticed that. I think I've talked to both of you before.
okay.
I've talked to Jim before. Hi, Jim. And I've talked to Wilfred and Louise before too.
Okay, good. So maybe you already had it, but anyway, this is where our goal here is to listen to your goals and concerns in your situation and explain if we think you're candidates for this and how we help you, and the cost for the first step that really applies to almost everybody is this asset protection plan. And then that's where we really do a deep dive with you on the annuity option too. And so you'll get personal attention and answer questions, and you can decide if you want to work together with us going forward. As I said, it's complicated, so we're not going to give you all the answers in this meeting. I mean, then it wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be complicated. Can you go back to that last one? I missed it. Oh yeah, this is good. At the end of our time together, this is our goal. So let us know if you had this and you didn't feel like it, that you'll know if we can help you, and you'll know the process and the cost. And we want you to be educated and empowered to make the best decision for you. We don't expect you to understand all the details at that meeting. It's not possible, but we want you to get enough so you can move forward, and then we'll take it step by step in a manageable way for you. So I'm not sure what's on this slide here. It just says total value. Oh, I think there's something missing there, but anyway, there's a value to this consultation of at least $150, and it's so you can book today and there's not a charge to you. We really appreciate you took the time to be here. If you have this before and you want a little follow-up, you could reschedule. And I know this is important to you because you took the time to be here today. So thank you very much for your time. I hope it was helpful. Let us know if you want some one-on-one time. Oh, C value 300. So that we should change that slide so it doesn't go in phases because it could just go like that. This one too. So again, these are the slides if you think it might be worth your time. If any, you can check any of these boxes, then I think that it's probably worth it for you to do an asset protection plan and at least start with the strategy session and see if that makes sense to you.